I do not wish to die due to heat, but I also do not want to have my air conditioner in the background making noise and risking to have that in the video, so I will suffer now. Hello, my name is YouTubeAudio and welcome back to my channel. I'm a creative being and a mess of an artist, and I take you along onto my art journey. In this video I will just take you along onto one of my processes to create patches. And I already mentioned this in another video when I was painting the Death Slinger from Dead by Daylight, that I have two projects that I recorded 1 year ago when I was creating them, when I was creating birthday gifts for my partner and my boyfriend, and I never got to edit this footage and upload it here, so here I am starting with the first video. But before I do so, let me tell you about my Ko-fi. On my Ko-fi I upload sketches, I don't necessarily upload anywhere else, some early access. I'm also currently working on a comic, so I share my progress and updates there before I publish it, of course. And I also offer some of my commissions over there. At the moment I offer my mini semi-portrait commissions, and it would be so cool if you could go there and check it out. Overall, some of my art is not behind a paywall, and then the other art you can see if you support me. And with that, let's get back to this project. This footage is 1 year old when I didn't figure out yet how to work and record with my phone, because that's what I'm still doing here, but I didn't have everything set up correctly yet, so it sometimes looks a bit wobbly and I'm very sorry about that, but we do the best out of it, and I do not want to lose that footage, especially because I recorded so much and it takes so much space away, so I do not want to simply delete it, because that's what I do. I delete my footage once I don't need it anymore. I created patches for my boyfriend, and more specifically I created band patches. There's two methods I personally use to create patches. One is with lino prints, which is something I already showed multiple times here on my channel, but if you would be interested to have like a proper video of me creating a lino cut and then printing with it from start to finish, please let me know and I can do so. My second method to create patches is to use stencils, and for this I have to create the stencils myself, just as I also have to create the lino cuts. So I start this process by creating them digitally, and I have to make sure that it is all one stencil, that it is one piece, and that no pieces are floating around, or elsewise you can lose them, or while printing they can just move and mess up the patch, which would be a shame. And at the start this is also a bit tricky to understand it, like I failed this multiple times, but once you get behind it and sit down and try to create it, it is much easier to understand. Once I was done with my files digitally, I prepared a piece of paper. I put some tape on it to make it sturdier, and due to it being plastic and using paint afterwards, it would not simply get ruined and leave paper pieces on the fabric due to soaking full with the paint and all that. It just makes it easier, much easier. Like, it's something I do. I learned that I have to do that throughout the process, and if you would use normal paper, because this is normal copy paper, put a layer of tape on it and it will work much better in my opinion. And like that you can also use the stencil multiple times, because it will not be ruined after one use. To then cut the stencil out of that paper, I do not do that by hand, or at least not completely, but I have a plotter, more exactly I have a Cricut, and oh my god, I hate this machine. Nowadays I cannot use it anymore, but Cricut is not a great brand to work with. But Back then, when I created the stencils and my Cricut was still working, I put the files online onto their program and I let the Cricut do the pre-cutting, because even there it didn't cut completely through, which was a shame. And afterwards I would sit there with a scalpel and just very carefully cut the pieces out that didn't cut properly through, but I had some guidance due to the pre-cut, and like that I would set them free and get them out of there. But it's a shame that the Cricut I have is just shit. Like, I cannot use it at all anymore because something broke for I do not know what reason, and it always caused me many problems, and it is just not worth the effort. But if you would like to have a plotter, there are many other brands that are great from what I've heard and seen, because my boyfriend has one and I think he has a Silhouette and he doesn't have as many problems, by far not as I had with my Cricut. So that's worth checking out. Like, do your research before investing into such a machine, because they still cost quite some money, even if you go for the cheaper versions. But if you do so, you will surely find something. Like, plotters can make your life easier. For example, if you cut out stencils with many little pieces and you do not want to sit there for hours and hours first drawing it onto the stencil and then cutting that out. But yeah, this machine should have done this job, not me, and yet here I was. Once I had the stencils, I taped them down onto the fabric so they wouldn't move throughout the process, and I would take my sponge and my color and just go in with it. I also decided on using a smaller sponge because like that I would not lift up the stencil by accident, because only the outside of the stencil was taped down, not the inside necessarily. And like that I would also not have the problem of smudging the color underneath the stencil and then continuing and just smudging it more and being a whole mess that would ruin the patch. Of course, it still happened a little bit, but that's something you can fix very easily by just going over those parts with the background color, in my case black. Also, if you use like a sponge, you want the sponge to be covered, but you do not want to have a massive amount of paint on the sponge. So you can spread it out very nicely, very calmly, until you have a solid layer of paint there. But not a crusty layer of paint, like a very thin, nice layer. And once everything was covered, I just took the stencil off because I didn't want it to get glued on there, and I let the patch dry. And of course, afterwards you have to see what does your fabric paint need. In my case, I have to iron it down, so once it was dry, I would iron it for 5 minutes with a towel between the patch and the iron, so it wouldn't like break and crumble off. And with that, I created patches. Very easy, very fast. Well, despite the preparation of the stencil, because stencils always take some time. It's, you do it once, but then you have a proper stencil. And just with lino cuts as well, you can create many patches. It is very easy to recreate something. You do not have to draw everything by hand each single time. You just have something that helps you to be fast and efficient. And it's overall a very nice way to create something if you already know that you need multiple exemplars of this. And personally, it's a process I like a lot. Like, I love to use stencils for my patches, but I think I will not get back to them until I have a proper plotter, or if I would create a stencil that would be easy to create without plotter. Then again, if I can use Lino for it, I will most likely use that, because I really enjoy to have Lino cards. Like, I think they're just so fun to create, very aesthetically pleasing, and also I love to create prints with them. To also talk more about the motifs, as I already mentioned, these are band patches. There is one band which my boyfriend and I love a lot, and its name is iDKHOW, but they found me. And we also recently went to a concert in Cologne, which was amazing, and I just love to see Dylan live, which is the front singer of the band. It's his band, and it was just so damn good. And my boyfriend also likes this band since quite a while, like even longer than me. Then again, I am awful with music and I cannot remember anything. But knowing that he likes him so much, I thought creating patches for this band would be the perfect gift. And overall, patches and bands just work so well together. And it's a great way to communicate with people and to get into touch with them. Patches are something visual, and you can put them onto your clothes or bags and let people know different stances. Like, you could express things you enjoy and like, or your kind of humor and your point of views, or they can also share ideas or even political messages. So they can range from very silly to very serious. And people will know what you want to express without having to go to each single person and telling them that. It's such an easy and also creative way to communicate with people and let them know certain things already up front. And with iDKHOW, people who know the band will recognize the patches. And they will know that you like that band. And if people see it that don't know the band, well, they just will see the patches and don't think too much about it. At the moment, the band also becomes more popular, but back then it was smaller. I think they founded in 2016, and yeah, it's now 8 years. I think they at the moment have around 1 million, 2 million monthly listeners, so I think that's a lot, but I'm not sure, because again, I'm a mess with music. Then again, it's a super cool band, and if you like alternative pop rock music, like, go check them out. Like, I love the band as well, like, just the vibe. So for two of the patches, I just created simple logos and symbols they use. So there is not much to say about these, because it's like their name and then a symbol which portrays the former two members. Now it's only one, which is Dylan, and yeah, that's also about it. Like, if you Google them, that's what you will find. But for the third patch, this is something more personal, because, as I said, my boyfriend loves the band since quite a while, and he actually wrote that quote, which is very funny to me. So I looked it up and created a patch out of it, because he's just so overdramatic and protective with this band, but in a very funny way. Simply because he has such a deep connection to that band and the music, and how he associates everything with this. With that, I don't want to say that no one is allowed to like this band, like, you should go like this band, but it just shows how deep of a connection people can create with certain things they like and appreciate, and it brings them joy. And such things are also very important. Like, it's important to have such things that you like and can put so much love into and put emotions into. And lastly, I made a patch about Dylan, who nowadays runs this band solo. And for that, I took a photograph of him, I edited it, and the only problem I have with this patch is due to the pose and the colors, since I only used the Razzmatazz album colors. And us living in Germany, this can be read very different by people who don't know the band, and I didn't notice that while creating this patch, which is unfortunate. But my boyfriend just added a blue stripe to the stripes to loosen everything up, because the blue you can find in other art logos and such. of the band, so everything is fine again. But when he first saw it, he mentioned it, and I was like, oh my god, I didn't see that. Oops, that's not good. So I'm very happy we could solve it, because overall I still love the patch, I still love the pose, I just like the aesthetic of it. And this patch, of all the patches, of all those 4 patches, was a lot of work, a lot of detail, a lot of cutting out and overworking it, and going over again and again to like clean parts up, and was just, it's the centerpiece of those 4 patches. So I would have cried if he could have not used it at the end, but everything is fine. Yes, that was me creating patches for my boyfriend, and he really likes them. He also sewed them onto his bag, which he then took to the concert, which is so cute, and I just love seeing them, and that they got put onto something, which I think is always super cool. Also, if I sell my patches, to see what people do with them is just amazing, and I love it. So if you have patches from me, just shoot me a message and show me, because I always love to see what you're doing. Like, just write me on Instagram also, like anywhere I'm active. Also Twitter should be possible, although I'm not as active there, and most people are active on Instagram with me, although I don't like Instagram. Oh my god, it's just stressful to be an artist and to be on social media. But that was all for now. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or feedback, please let me know down in the comments. If you want, go check out my Ko-fi, and with that, I wish you a good day or night wherever you are. Bye!